Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Senator Barack Obama.
We just had hearings yesterday in Washington with General Petraeus and Ambassador Crocker about a war that has now lasted longer than the First World War, the Second World War, the Civil War. It's a war that, when it's over, will have cost us well over $1 trillion. More tragically, it's cost us thousands of lives, thousands more grievously injured, and a war that has not made us more safe.
When the plant shuts down, a lot of people don't understand. You miss your job, but when you work in plants with people 20, 30, 40 years, that's your new family. You have a working relationship, and those people are your livelihood, and they're your friends. And Trudy's right. Her and I have both seen people that are suicidal, divorces. I mean, people turn into crime is way up. Where's the bottom line? When is it going to stop? Keep these good paying jobs here in the U.S. And the people in the U.S. want to work. They're not lazy.
Right. The retraining programs that we have never been good enough.
No, they're not reality.
You know, first of all, they come too late. You know, if you're going to retrain somebody, you should retrain them before they're laid off.
Right.
Because once they're already laid off, it's enormous pressure on them to try to support a family and go to school and try to figure it out. Second thing is, you got to train them for jobs that actually are out there.
Right.
You know,
That's not going to be shipped out.
And that aren't going to be shipped out. The third thing is that you know, a lot of the retraining doesn't apply to companies, people who've lost their jobs. Your plant might close, so you might qualify for retraining. But the supplier of the plant that might close, they don't qualify for retraining.
Right.
So downstream, you got a lot of companies that are affected because the whole economy is hurt when a big plant like that moves. You know, and so they don't qualify for retraining. So one of the things we got to do is change the whole retraining process. And I agree with you that some of these companies that move, particularly the ones that have gotten tax breaks, they should be footing part of the bill.
Right.
Both in the private sector and in the public sector, it's estimated we waste about $600 billion a year. I mean, in unnecessary costs and unnecessary tests and just poor management of the healthcare system. A big chunk of that is because we don't emphasize prevention. Our healthcare system is not designed for prevention. That's why I call it a disease care system. We wait until people get really sick, and then we have these very expensive medical interventions. So, for example, many insurance companies won't reimburse you for a dietitian so that you can control your weight, but they will reimburse for a $30,000 foot amputation once you get diabetes. Right? That's just an inefficient way of running a healthcare system. So what we do is we incentivize both in the work that we're going to do with the private sector, but also in the government plan that I'm setting up, as well as Medicare and Medicaid, emphasis on prevention. I've been working at this stuff for 20 years. So it doesn't matter what question you ask me, I'll have something to say. Because, I've been in the trenches. I've worked as an organizer, as a state legislator, as a U.S. senator, as a civil rights attorney. on health care, on education. But here's the point. The problem we have right now is not a shortage of plans. The problem we have is that we can't get those plans implemented because you've got a resistant Congress. There are a lot of special interest lobbies that gum up the works in Washington. The American people aren't being heard, and sometimes they're not paying attention. We are divided by race or by these hot button issues like gay marriage that prevents us from forming coalitions to solve problems. And nobody's accountable. Nobody's accountable. Politics becomes a game. You know, it's people shouting back and forth on cable, and people run negative ads, and everybody's interested in who's winning and who's losing and who's up and who's down in the polls, and nothing gets done. So the reason that I talk the way I do is not just because I like hearing myself talk. I promise you, after 15 months, I would be happy to take a vow of silence and not say a word. I'd be happy just to sit in an office somewhere and solve all kinds of problems without ever having to give a speech. But the reason I want to reach people and move them is because the only way we're going to be able to bring about change is if the American people get involved and are motivated enough to hold Congress accountable, to hold the White House accountable, pay attention, be engaged in their community, feel hopeful about the possibilities of change, not feel cynical about how things are right now, because as tough as they are, we've been through tougher times before. You know, the reason I talk about hope is not because I'm blindly optimistic. I know how hard it is to solve problems. The reason is because the essence of hope is imagining and then fighting for things that didn't seem possible before. And that's what we have to do right now. Do some things that don't seem possible right now, but really are if we put our mind to it, if we're unified.